The team that learned their lessons ever so well, and they sit here tonight as two-time premiers. Chris Fagan has been with us from the first week of this season to the last. We're thrilled to have him back on the rooftop in Brisbane. Fags, congratulations. Welcome back to 360.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Gerard. It means we won the Premiership, so thanks for having me, and you too as well, Garry.
How does two-time Premiership coach sit with you?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much. Some of the players were strutting around last night calling themselves two-timers and all that sort of stuff, and pretty happy with themselves, which is fair enough. I guess it's just a reward for a lot of hard work that we've done up here over a 9-year period. These performances in the last 2 years, haven't just suddenly happened. It's been on the back of a lot of hard work and a lot of disappointment sometimes, and just feels good that, we've been fortunate enough this year to get another reward. It doesn't always happen, but we're fortunate that it has for us this year.
I do rather like the ornament that you brought to the background, sitting on the ledge just over your right shoulder. Did you have to rescue that earlier in the day?
I did, Gerard. I caught up with the players for an hour or so on their Mad Monday, and Harris was looking after the cup and said he didn't quite know how the day was going to finish and could I bring the cup home for him. So I thought I'll do that and put it in the background when we have the show tonight. So an added bonus.
Looks magnificent, Fags. I love the fact that they're not precious with the cup these days. It gets thrown around and passed around and everyone gets their time with it. Has it got any war wounds on it after a day or two?
Yeah, it has, Garry. I brought it home tonight and Ursula had a look at it. She said, there's a dent in that cup. And I had a bit of a look and sure enough there is. So I might have to get a few repairs done at some point in time, or maybe just leave it there, as a part of history.
One of the great qualities from the players in the aftermath and the hot-blooded hour straight afterwards is a lot of them thought this was better the second time than the first, for the journey that had been undertaken, whether it was the reward, whether it was their own personal challenge, whether it was the collective. Was it different for you the second time to the first?
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it more because I just think winning 2 in a row is very, very hard to do. I mean, not that many teams have done it in history. I was lucky enough to beat Hawthorn when they won 3 in a row, but, it's just extraordinary to think that we're able to get there. There were many times this year where it felt like that wasn't going to be the case, whether it be via injury or the fact that, our draw was incredibly hard. So I just feel like we've had to go through a fair bit more this year than last year, believe it or not, to win the flag. And, a lot of our victories this year have been against the teams that have been in the top 8. They had to be because that's who we played most of the time. And so from that perspective, I think it's better than last year. There's a lot of satisfaction around it. And, last night we had a bit of a function for the football department and all the players at a pub in Brisbane, and the replay of the game come up, and we sat there and watched the whole game together, and it was one of the most fun things I've ever done in my football life, to sit there with those players. They're cheering and carrying on and stirring each other up. It was absolutely brilliant.
How magnificent. Hey, we'll go through some of the key moments in the game. We've got a bit of time to work through a few issues. So I'm wondering what you're thinking at quarter time. It was a game dominated by defence. So had a look at it. Cameron, Dangerfield, Neale, Stengel, Close and Myers had scored a single point between the 6 of them. But you guys had struggled a little bit forward of the ball as well. But you had kicked 1 goal for from stoppage and Zach Bailey had kicked 4 behind. What was your take at quarter time when you got out to the huddle?
I thought we'd done a lot right in the first quarter, particularly compared to how we were in the qualifying final where Geelong got the jump on us. So I was happy to be in the game. I just felt like we probably left a few opportunities out there. We missed some shots that we possibly should have taken. So you always worry a little bit about that, but I didn't talk too much about it. I just talked on the positives, and pretty happy where contested ball was, pretty happy with our pressure. Just sort of the message was keep it going.
So the ball movement style of footy that you play is so critical. You left your defensive 50, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but 13 times early in that second quarter without getting it inside 50 once, and you just thought, oh, hang on, it's got a little bit of a look about that Geelong game. But then all of a sudden Zorko gets involved. in the end, in that second quarter, he has 7 kicks at 100% and 199 metres gained. I thought he was really pivotal in reminding you, look, this is what our best looks like, and I'll take it on. And from that moment on, I thought it was very much a Brisbane style of game.
Yeah, I agree with that, Gary. Our ball movement improved as the game went on. I think that's a little bit to do with the pressure comes off a little bit too, and maybe Geelong weren't able to defend the ground as well as they did at the beginning. I felt like one of the things we did talk about at quarter time was if they're going to take away the corridor, well then let's go around the boundaries. It doesn't matter. We'll just take whatever they give us, but we need to keep the ball in motion. I thought we did that a little bit better, and as you say, Zorks is really important in all that. He's a risk taker, and every now and then he lets rip with a big clanger. But basically, when you get to the point in the grand final, you just got to take the game on. You can't just sit back and let the other team dominate you defensively. You've just got to take a few risks, and he set the example with that.
He did, and then if the scriptwriters had their way, this is what would have happened after half-time. Harris Andrews starts to dominate at half-back, and then he just starts taking intercept marks at will. You activate Lockie Neale with you, hold your breath, and he just spends 5 minutes running around, a bit like a chook with its head cut off, and then by the end of the quarter, he looked absolutely Lockie Neale at his best. Charlie starts kicking goals, McCluggage burns off Mullen, Bailey starts to kick straight, and I thought Darcy Fort just chugging along. So all those things, the scriptwriters going, yep, tick, 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 everything's going beautifully by that stage. You had a nice feeling at three-quarter time, 19 points up.
Yeah, although you never feel that comfortable with a 19-point lead. That can be chewed up pretty quickly in modern AFL football, but the signs were definitely good. I thought Lockie coming on, and you're right, he did look like he hadn't played for a while to start with, but he got going. He gave us a lot of energy around the ball, and then when he kicked that goal just on three-quarter time, that really, I think, lit the team up. Everything did start moving pretty well. Charlie always brings a lot of energy when he gets into the game, and that's what he was able to do. I felt good coming in at three-quarter time. I thought we were starting to get a little bit of reward for our effort, but just reminded the players at three-quarter time we just got to keep going with our hunt, which really picked up around the stoppage in that third quarter. I think we were about equal at clearances at half-time. We might have been one in front, and that really lifted in the third quarter, which is important to us. And our game looked really intact, so it was a matter of getting out there. Just talked about the idea, scoreboard back to zero. Let's knuckle down and do that again. And fortunately, the players were able to do that.
So when you were watching it last night at the pub, have you settled on a favourite moment? Is there something that made you chuckle or smile just a little bit more than any other bit?
I think when Lockie kicked that goal just on three-quarter time was probably the big moment in the game. It just gave us a good gap between us and Geelong on the scoreboard, and so that was particularly a big moment. And then it was just, I guess the other moment was just how quickly we were able to kick goals in that last quarter, and the game was all over very quickly. I didn't expect that. I thought it would be a real arm wrestle, and that perhaps Geelong could fight their way back into it, because it had been a pretty close game all day, but our players just found another gear, found a lot of energy, which I was really pleased with, because I was a little bit worried coming into this game that three hard finals was going to tell on us at some point in time, but that didn't appear to be the case. Our fitness people obviously have done a great job. We recovered well from the week before, so that last quarter, fortunately enough for us, ended up being some sort of a celebration. I do remember that strange walk that Kai Lohmann did after he kicked the goal, which sort of brought a little bit of laughter to the place. And he was doing repeats of that today at the Mad Monday for anybody that wanted to watch him. So, but that was a bit of fun. Sometimes celebrations can appear to be a little bit arrogant, but hopefully it wasn't taken that way. It was just our boys, enjoying the fact that the game was going their way.
For the rest of your days in grand final week, you and Lockie Neale are going to be asked about this, because every year there is an injury and there's a player as what to do. What's the moral of the tale, Fags, as you learnt it across a week and in the couple of days afterwards?
You mean in regards to playing Lockie?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So Well, for starters, our medical people had cleared him to play. He'd completed 3 pretty gruelling training sessions in the lead up to the grand final, and so there was no doubt in our mind he was fit to play. The question was for us to answer is he's only played 1 game in 8 weeks, and did he have the fitness to run out a full game, or would it be better to hold him back and introduce him into the game at a point in time in which we thought he could give us a bit of an advantage, and we chose the latter. I felt that if he started and ran out of gas, that might be a bit of a spirit killer for the boys. But I thought if he could come on around about half time and do what he did, that it would be an enormous spirit lifter for us. And I know it was a bit of a punt, but as it worked out, it feels like it was the right decision to make. It could easily have gone the wrong way, but no, what he did in that second half. Is the ability to win 7 clearances, have 17 possessions, have a couple of direct goal assists was just enormous for us, and it gave us the energy boost that we needed in the second half.
Well, again, I talk about script writers. It was just a spectacular success. I mean, we debated it before the game, as everyone in the footy world did. I thought it was too big a risk, but it couldn't have worked out any better. Gerard asked you what made you smile. I reckon the fact that Will Ashcroft, in his 58th game, has won his 2nd Norm Smith medal. He's won the Garry Ayres medal for being the best finals player. Gerard and I were talking about Dusty. He said Dusty won his Norm Smith medals in his 8th, 10th and 11th year. He's won his Norm Smith medals in his 2nd and 3rd. Yeah. I think he still gets... He won't anymore, but the fact that... And I'm a bit with this with Levi. They're so professional. They come in like ready-made players. You forget how young they are. He's 21 years of age. He's played 58 games of footy. He's now a legendary finals player.
He is. He steps up in the big moments, and he does throughout the home and away series too. I think when the big games are on, it tends to bring out the best in him. And I think he's still got more gears to go, to be honest. At his age and at his experience, I think he's going to learn to impose himself on games more and more and more. We've seen that growth in him this year. He tended probably just to drift around a little bit in his first couple of years and not play with great intensity, but now he really explodes and wins the ball and explodes away from contests and, creates great scoring opportunities for us. So, provided he doesn't get injured in any way, shape or form going forward, I think we're going to see even better performances from Will. And in terms of Levi, I think his season's been a little bit underrated. I mean, it's pretty hard for a young 18-year-old to come in and break in to the Premiership team from the year before, and he's played every single game. He had some great moments on the weekend. I think he will continue to improve as a player. He's a little bit like Will, probably sometimes he's just a little bit cruisy in the way that he gets around the field, but I think that intensity will come with experience, and we're very fortunate to have both those boys at our club.
Yeah, so just looking at some of Levi's numbers, I think that's really significant. In an era where we talk about these first-year players, we've got to nurse them through and, don't ask too much of them. As you say, he's broken into a Premiership team, played every single game, and then these numbers. You're talking about some pretty fair Brisbane players over the journey here. So 5th most by player disposals, 3rd most by any player under 19 years, and from a clearance point of view, the 7th best by a Brisbane player after 27 games. You don't need to talk more about him. I think the footy world will realise that he's still 18 years of age, this kid. Yeah. He's just had one of the best years for a first-year player that you can imagine.
It occurs to me we should get Marcus Ashcroft and Peter Dacos to actually run the industry-wide footy academy, and we should send our kids there for daycare. Exactly, actually get them taught how to play. Yeah. Fags, just indulge us just for a few minutes on a personal front. So your place in history, you're already the oldest Premiership coach. You were the first one in more than half a century to have done it without playing at the elite level. That magnifies now having done it twice. What does that mean to you in a way, and not just for you, but on behalf of those who didn't play the game at the elite level?
Yeah, so first of all, I think I've been pretty fortunate in my football background to have some great coaches, both in Tassie and working with Neale and Clarko. So I learned a lot from those guys. So I was probably no rookie when I came to the opportunity to coach the Brisbane Lions. All my past experiences had helped me enormously, so I'm very grateful for that. But I think in terms of, I hope that it gives others that have walked in my shoes the idea that maybe it is possible to coach an AFL team if you do a good enough apprenticeship. I mean, it took me a long time. I worked at AFL level for 19 years before I did get the opportunity and was very fortunate to get it. But I do hope that it does give other people who are working in the industry the idea that, you know, if they work hard enough and take their opportunities when they come along, that they may well be able to do the same thing.
Dane Zorko referenced it in the post-game. Does it bury any insecurities? 2 flags, Fags?
Yeah, look, if I was to probably being totally honest, Gerard, there were times when even up until, you know, last year when we won the flag, I felt like maybe I had there's a little bit of imposter syndrome. Was I good enough to help this team win a premiership? All of those things, all those thoughts go through your head. I think they're natural enough. So winning one gave me a fair bit of confidence, and I guess now that we've been able to do it again, you know, I feel like maybe now that I do belong in the coaching ranks. So hopefully I've got a few more years left in me. See how we go.
I reckon if we look through your phone, there'd be enough messages to suggest that you're very much comfortable where you're at. Neale Daniher, you mentioned him, you referenced him. 1998, Cameron Schwab got you to the Melbourne Footy Club as a footy manager, and the influence that Neale has had on you is well known within closer circles. But I'd imagine the messages that have come through in recent times, the ones from him, would mean the most, given how much of an influence he's had on you. You won the Neale Daniher Lifetime Achievement Award this year, as well as the Coaches Association Player of the Year. These are really special moments, I would imagine, for you.
Yeah, they are. I surprisingly got a magnificent text message from Neale today, which I won't go into, but it did mean a lot to me. And it probably referenced a little bit that idea that maybe I didn't feel like I belonged, but hopefully I do now. But, you know, I just know that, you know, I got this opportunity because he had the courage to give a no-name from Tasmania an opportunity. And I can remember, and you were there, Garry, when I first turned up. I looked at you blokes and you're probably looking at me going, who the hell is this bloke, you know? And but he had the courage to give me a job, and he backed me in all the way through. Like, you know, when I coached the reserves the first couple of years, and I think we joined up with Sandringham, and I thought I'm going to have to be the Sandringham coach now. And he said, no, you're going to be an assistant coach. And then when Danny Corkin left, he came into my office and said, I want you to be the footy manager. And sort of I got this wonderful development at the Melbourne Footy Club off the back of Neale having a lot of faith in me. And you know, all those experiences helped me, you know, be able to do what I was able to do at Hawthorn with Clarko, and then obviously here now at the Brisbane Lions. But it was a tremendously courageous decision by Neale, and I'll never be able to thank him enough for it.
Fantastic.
Christmas bragging rights are going to be harder at your table as Grant's got the flag with Clarence and the Fagan medal. You'll bring 2 Jock McHale medals to the table. Mum was there for Grant. So this is the family businesses coaching. Just remind me, did Austin coach as well?
Yeah, so Dad was a coach on the west coast of Tasmania. He coached Gormanston. They were a team around there. They were the Mountain Men, as they were called. I spent a lot of my youth going to training with Dad and standing by his side when he was coaching the team, and I learned a lot from him. He was one of those, he might have been a little bit before his time. I remember, you know, often there'd be players from the team come down to our place for dinner, and back then they were my heroes, of course, and you know, he just seemed to take a bit of a special interest in them and you know, try to build a good sense of team spirit and comradeship. And yeah, I think I might have picked a few clues up off him there. I certainly do some of those things myself.
What a coaching family you are. So tonight's not the night to look too far ahead, Fags, but all of us just so admire this team and it's the age demographic and the possibility. So you've been in a program that won 4 and won 3 in a row. Are you of a mind to pitch to them, this is the sweet spot, let's make sure we get all that we can from it?
Well, we talked about, again, after the game, just, you know, I think the key to us having a good year this year was we didn't get carried away with ourselves last year after we won the Premiership. I thought, you know, we got some confidence from it, but we stayed humble as a group, and I didn't see anyone develop a sense of entitlement at all, which I think is really important. So as long as we stay grounded, I think we can obviously challenge again next year. We've got a lot of young players on our list who are growing into great AFL players, and their best is ahead of them. And our older, experienced players, I think, have still got a fair bit of life left in them. So, you know, right now I can understand why everybody's saying that about us, but it all still comes back to attitude and being prepared to work and continuing to try and improve and get better. And if we can do that, then we're a chance to be successful again next year. But that's the $64 question.
Will you guide them for a little while yet, Fags?
As in coach the team, Gerard?
Yep.
Yeah. For as long as I feel like I'm making a difference and they think I am, I often talk to our leaders and get feedback from them on how I'm going. You've got to stay relevant with younger people to coach them well, and you've got to stay relevant to the trends of the game. I mean, hopefully we've set a few trends ourselves, but you know, I'm always mindful that you've got a certain lifespan at a football club, and I don't quite know how long that is, but you know, some people have always thought that was around the 10-year mark. Well, I've done 9, so and I've got 2 more years to go. So if I get to the end of that and we're still being successful, I guess I've got a decision to make. But I'm pretty happy that the club's backed me in for as long as they have.
Fags, brilliant. Thank you as ever.
Yep.
Well done.